percentage we use a function called percentage eval. But if the numerical data contains a decimal value, what we should write?
Percentage is eval.
Percentage is eval is a math function that we should use. Very, very important. And again, I'm going to start today from the positional parameters. So, I want to create a macro to export the data onto my desktop. So to export the data, I want to develop a macro. And you know that what is the base code that you write? So I'm writing, first of all, proc export data is equal to the data set name we are going to write it. And then after that one, we are going to write DBMS is equal to, out file is equal to, because I'm exporting the data, out file is equal to, then you will write DBMS is equal to, you can write, and then I'm writing replace option, then semicolon, then the reference statement. Now, if you want to develop the macro for this one, now tell me how many parameters you should require? 3 parameters. Ideally, I want to apply positional parameters. Tell me how to the positional parameters, percentage, macro, whatever the macro name that you want, you can write it. I'm writing my macro name as an export, and then within the parentheses, we are going to write the parameters. And by the way, we can write these parameters in any order. Okay, I want to write the first, for example, a parameter called file, comma, the second parameter called data set, comma, and third parameter called DB. Now, and finally, we should give a semicolon, and then what we should do, we should apply those parameters in the program. So now I'm writing ampersand 5, ampersand ds, that is the parameter I want to apply here. Out file is equal to, I'm writing ampersand 5, so the second parameter I'm giving, dbms is equal to, I'm writing ampersand db. So what did you understand from this one? We can write these parameters in any order, and you don't need to follow the same order, so in whichever way you want to take it. And then finally what we should do, you should write the percentage end, and then what we should write the macro name one more time. So this is how we have moved it. And then we should write this. Now select the program, execute the program, a macro will be created. And by the way, what type of parameters these are?
Positional parameters.
Okay, we have positional parameters. In whatever the order that you have given, you should give the values in the same order. Since I'm writing a file first, I should give the value 5. So I want to export onto my desktop. I'm going to get the path of my desktop. Now I'm holding the shift button, the right click, shift, right click. I'm going to get the copy as path. Now I go to the program. Now I'm writing like this one. Now I'm writing, percentage of what the macro that we have created, export, open the parentheses. First, since I have given the file parameter first, I'm going to give the value for that one, comma, and then what I should write now, and after that, the second parameter we have a DS. Now I'm writing stats help data. Say for example, whatever the name you want it. Now I want to do it with JRP heart. I'm writing stats data heart, comma, third parameter I have given DB, and I should write the value for that one, which is an XLSX. Now, if I execute this one line, what is going to happen? On my desktop, I'm going to have an XLSX file called, what is that one? We'll do one thing. I'll change this as I want to have it as a heart only. I'm writing heart.docs, select the program, execute the program. And can you see on my desktop, I have a heart.docs file, TOCX file. And it's an XLSX file. You can write it as an XLSX also. Understand this, everybody? Is this clear?
Yes, sir.
You cannot change here when you're giving the values. You should not change the values. You should give in the same, whatever the order that we have parameters, you should give the values in the same order. Now, I want to import the data. I want to develop a macro to import it. So this time, I want to give the positional parameters. But I want to give it keyword parameters. How to write the program to import an Excel sheet or any file? I want to develop a macro for that one. First of all, this is how we should write it. Proc import data file is equal to and then we are going to write out is equal to data set name. I'm writing out is equal to data set name. Then we are going to DBMS is equal to, and then I'm writing the replace option, semicolon, data. Tell me how many parameters you require again? 3 parameters. Now I'm writing percentage macro. I want to have a macro name import and then the 3 parameters. But this time, when you're giving the parameter, you should write the parameter is equal to. Now I want to have d file is equal to, comma. I'm writing, data set name is equal to, comma. I'm writing db is equal to. Now finally, semicolon, and then data file is equal to what I should write now. I'm going to specify ampersand d file. Out is equal to what should I write now? Ampersand ds. DBMS is equal to ampersand db. Okay, and then again one more time I should write a percentage amount, and then I should write the input, and this is called positional parameter. This is called keyword parameter.
Are these any macros or case sensitive, sir?
Pardon?
Are these macros are case sensitive or not, sir?
No, it's everything is same. This is a program, no, this is not data, so it is not case sensitive. Okay. Now, you know what? When writing any keyword parameters, we can also give the default value. I'm giving the default value, say for example CSV. So when you're importing a CSV file, you don't need to give the DB parameter because already what's the default value you have given for the DB? CSV. So if you want to import a CSV file, you don't need to give the third parameter. So for example, on my desktop, I have this PC, in this PC I'll go to the div volume D, and there I have, say for example, schedule, in that I have, say for example, hot disease data, and here I have, what is this file? This is a CSV file. Now if you want to import the CSV file, I'm going to get the path of this one, shift, right click, whatever.
and zip formats.
I'm copying the path, copy as path. I'm going to copy that one. Then I'll go to the program. Now I want to. So I want to use this macro. Now I'm writing percentage import. Percentage input, open the parenthesis, p file, I'm giving the value, so you should write the parameter is equal to value, comma, the second parameter ds is equal to data set name I want to have, so for example, interaction steps, I want to have data set name anyway. Now, close the parenthesis, keep the semicolon. Actually, how many parameters we have in the program?
Three.
And how many values I'm giving here? Two. Because already we have a default value. What is the default value that we have? CSV. So when you are importing a CSV file, you no need to write the parameter. But if you want to import anything other than the CSV file, okay? Say for example, on my desktop, I have, hot Excel sheet. I want to import this one. Now shift, right click, I'm writing copy as path. Now I want to import that one. Now if you want to import that one, what we should write now? Percentage import, open the parenthesis. Now p file is equal to the path of the file, comma, then ds is equal to data set name. I want to have it as a hot only. Now comma, dv is equal to, what is the default value that we have for dv?
CSV.
But now this time I want to import XLSX, so you should write XLSX. Now this XLSX is going to override the CSV. Now we are going to have a data set called hot. So we can give the default values. If we do not want to have the default, if you want to have something other than the default, by giving that the new value, we can override the default value for the program. Understand this, everybody? And this is called keyword parameters. Now I want to have a third type of parameter, which is called position parameters. Sorry, which is a mixed parameter. Now I want to sort the data. For sorting, I want to write a macro. So generally, what is the base dashboard that you will write to sort? No, proc sort. Okay, data is equal to data set name. Then we are going to write, if you want, you can write out is equal to data set name, and then we will write dbms by variable name.
By variable
name. Okay, how many parameters I will require now? Three parameters.
Three.
Now I'm done. A macro. I'm writing a percentage macro. Then I'm writing the macro name. I want to have this sort. What is in the mixed? If you give the position and keyword together, and that is called as a mixed parameter. When you are giving position and keyword parameters to both, first we should always write the position parameters, then finally we should write the keyword parameter. So I'm writing first, I want to have a data set name ds, and then I want to have out data set ODS, and then I'm writing, by is equal to. So here, ds and ODS, I'm following the position parameters, but by I'm using keyword parameter. Now data is equal to what should I write now? I'm going to specify ampersand ds, and out is equal to, I'm writing ampersand out to data set ODS, and by I'm writing ampersand, I will write by that. So I will take as a parameter as a by that. Okay. And then finally, percentage amend, I'm writing the sort one more time. By the way, I want to sort this as a third class. I want to have, have a new data set called class 1. I want to do it by print. Then how we can do that one? Now I'm going to specify percentage sort. First we should give the values for position parameters. The first one ds, I want to sort this as a third class. And by the way, the new data set I want to have in class 1, comma, by var is equal to, I want to sort it by print. And this is called mixed parameters. Now select the program executed, we have a class 1 and the data has been sorted by weight variable. And if you give both position and key parameters together, and this is called mixed parameters. Understand, everybody? Is this clear? Very, very important question. Which parameter do you prefer in real time? Generally, we prefer keyword parameters because by using keyword parameters, we can give the default values and we can write a more flexible.
Any order.
Yeah, since we can any order, we can write a more flexible macro code. Understand this one? Now, the next important thing is, generally what are the major purpose, major usage of the macros I told you in the starting? We create macros for repetitive usage, repetitively. Okay? So that is why we develop the macros. So if you want to perform the same task, instead of writing the same code again and again, we apply the macro. So the macro is going to simplify that one, and it is going to make the code more dynamic. So, but if you want to use the code, say repetitively, where we should have our code? A code can be repetitively used for quantity, where we should have, it must be present in a permanent library. But generally when you create a macro, where this macros are getting saved? SAS MESCR catalog folder. In the SAS MESCR catalog folder, now we can see three macros that we have created. One is import, export, and just now we have created the sort. All these macros have been saved in a default SAS MESCR folder in the work library. But unfortunately, it is not like a user file. If you try to open, it will not open anything. It will not show any information. Okay? So, if you want to use it repetitively, where we need to save this macro? We need to save it in the permanent library. But whenever we want to, we can use. And now, what is the best method? How we are going to recall already created macro? We have three different methods to recall a serial macro. Okay? The first method that we are going to use a concept called percentage include. We are going to use a concept called percentage include. And the second method that we are going to have is, auto call libraries. And third one is while saving the code. Saving macro code. Which one is better in the real time? Generally, saving the macro code And whenever we want to have that macro code, recalling that macro code is the most effective method in the real time. Because if you compare a macro, if you create a macro library, maintaining the macro library will take a lot of effort. It will take a lot of memory. So that's why we don't recommend autocall libraries, but sometimes, of course, we say autocall libraries. But a macro, saving the macro code and reusing the macro code, and by using the percentage include, these are the two most effective methods that we use in the real time. And what is this percentage include? Say, for example, unfortunately, this is my new laptop. I do not have any code here. I will do one thing. I have this PC. In that I have a D drive. In that I have a folder called C disk. In the C disk folder, I have a folder called Adam. I have a folder called ADSL. Adam. In the Adam folder, I have a ADSL 1 folder. In that, do you know what is this, by the way? Or this one, what is this? What is this file? This one or this one? Very good. SAS code. Now I want to execute the code from here itself. ఈ code execute చేయడం మీరు ఏం చేస్తారు జనరల్గా? What you will do?
SAS control plus 4.
Directly open
We should get the code into current session. How to get the code into current session?
Control plus 4 and select the
Open button. So go to the desktop. So go to this PC. It is present in the D drive, and then you should go to the C disk. In there I have an item. In there I have an ADSL 1. Here I want to execute this code. So I will select this one and click on the open button. Now the code is going to come to the current session. Now I can execute the code. But if you want to execute the code, what we are doing now? First of all, we are getting this code into current session. But I do not want to get into this current session. I want to execute this code. Understand what I'm saying? And by the way, code execute channel, we should create a library, and here we have that library. We have the data set. So I changed it recently the what you call the location. I'm changing the system, so I'm changing the location so that now we can execute this one. Right? Now what I'm going to do, I do not want to get this code into current session. I'm going to keep this code as it is in the same location. Okay? I do not want to get this one, but I want to execute that code. I want to execute what is that? This code. Now to get this execute this code, I'm going to copy the code, path of the code. Shift right click, copy as path, go to the program. Now this is how I'm going to write it. Now I am writing percentage include. Okay, percentage include whatever the code path that we have. Write the code path. It is semicolon. Now if I select this one line, if I execute this one line, now the code is executed from its original location. Can you see? All the code has been executed from the original location, and we have all the data sets in the one library. You don't need to get the code into current session. You can keep the code in the original location, and you can copy the path. From there itself, we can execute the code. Understand this?
So your voice is not audible, sir. तुम्ही कशा म्हणते सगळे
Yes, am I audible? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah. By using percentage include, what we can do, we can write the path of the SAS code, and then we can execute the code from its original location. In most of the times in the real time, what we are going to do, we are going to write the macro code, or we are going to write any SAS code. We will keep it in the original location. So what we are going to do, we are going to execute the code from its source location. And by the way, when writing the path, what type of file it must be? So what is this file, by the way?
Dot SAS.
Transform.
It is a .SAS. It is a SAS code. But now what I'm going to do, I'll go on my desktop. I'm creating a text file. I'm creating a new text document. And I'm giving the no code and the name as say for example SAS code. Now this time, what I'm going to do, I'm going to write few lines of code here. Say for example, I'm writing, proc report. Data is equal to data set name. Data is equal to SAS help dot class. Then I'm writing the run statement. And then after that, what I'm going to do, I'm writing the proc transpose. Data is equal to SAS help dot class. And then I'm writing out is equal to class 1 semicolon run. Now, I'm closing this one. Of course, I'm saying that this code, we have two processes or two programs. One is one is proc report, and the second one I did that proc transpose. And the result of the proc transpose is the class 1 data set. Now, what I'm going to do, I'm going to get the path, shift right click. I'm going to click on copy as path. Now I'll go to the SAS. Now I'm writing here percentage include. I'm writing, percentage include, and then I'm going to give the path of the text file and semicolon. Then I'm writing, proc means data is equal to class 1 data set. What is this class 1 data set? This is the result of proc transpose. Where we have the proc transpose procedure? In the SAS code, isn't it? So if I include this program, first of all, it is going to run the proc report for SAS entire class, then it is going to transfer, and of transpose, the result of the transpose is a class 1 data set. Now here in the SAS, I'm writing a proc means data is equal to class 1. If I include this program, first of all, I'm going to get the report, and then SAS entire class will be get transposed. So as a result, I'm going to get the class 1. Now the proc means is going to execute on the class 1, and this is how I'm going to get it. Can you see what happened now? We got a analysis on the class. So we got the proc report information here, and then we got a, doc means also. So and in between, of course, there is going to be class 1 data set. This code is present in the text file. The code has been executed from the text file because we have written the percentage include the text file, and this text file contains the core SAS code. It has been executed, and from the continuation, we got the proc means result. Understand this, everybody? No. in the real time, generally what we do, are we going to save the data sets, or are we going to save the code? If anybody has given, so what we will do? Are we going to go create the data sets and we'll store the data sets? Generally, if the data sets are small in size, you know what we do? We create the data sets in the folder and we are going to share the folders. Okay? But just imagine if the data sets are huge in size. So if the data sets are huge in size, you know, if you create the data, it will take so much of memory. If you do not require the data set right now, why should I create? So in such scenario, we are going to store the code. So whenever you require the data sets, then we execute the code. As a result of the code execution, you will get the final data sets. Understand?
What about the path and file, sir? The transfer files means it will change the location also, sir.
Of course, so now, say for example, you have it in the code. If I execute the code, I'm going to get 100 data sets. Say for example, see, in this scenario, now what it is like, I saved the code. Can you remember this is the code we have seen? This is the code.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'm going to give the raw data sets, and I'm going to give the raw data sets, and I'm going to give this path of, I'm going to give the code. Now we are going to, generally, in the real time, everybody is going to work on the server, right? Am I doing?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, everybody is going to share the same server. So all the folders are common for everybody. Okay, now I have written the code and I kept the code in a folder. If by writing a percentage include and by writing the path of this code, if you execute, you don't need to change the location and everything. Automatically the code will get executed and you will get the result in data sets. Don't think that, like, you know, in your system, you are going to have your personal, you know, folders, you are going to have your personal locations and everything. It's not going to be like that one. Everybody is going to share common folders. Because when it comes to the macros, so what we are going to do, no, everybody is going to work on the same macro. So if we are in the same project, we are going to use common macros. The common, you know, we are going to use the common user-defined formats. Understand?
Sir.
Then that means that you are not going to have a SaaS software separate one to do. There is only one SaaS software in the server. Everybody is going to share that one. The folders are same, common. Everybody is going to share all the folders. If folder code a conditional code, you can also see it from your system. Clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. So the first method is by writing the percentage include. And the second one is, no, the second method is not so recommendable because it requires a lot of memory. It is going to save the compile time. So for example, you know, here we have developed a macro for like exporting the data, importing the data, and we have developed a macro for sorting. Now I want to save this macro. If you want to save this macro, what I'm going to save it as a compiled macro. How to save that one? Whenever we want to save that one, first we should create a library. To create a library, on my desktop, first of all, I'm going to create a folder. I'm creating a new folder. I'm giving the folder name, say for example, my macros. Okay, so I'm copying the path, shift, right click, copy as path. Now I go to the program, I'm going to create a library. I'm writing lib name, library reference name, say for example, you know, I want to have library reference whether it's Srini, then I'll give the path of the folder. If I execute the program, tell me what is going to happen now. I'm going to have a library called Srini. Now I want to save all these macros in the Srini library. Now whenever I want to save it, you know what we should do? Now we should write the global option. We should write options, mstore, as mstore is equal to, mstore is equal to the library name. In which library I want to save? I want to save this in the Srini library. Now I'm writing these are the two global options. You should write options, mstore, SAS mstore is equal to the library name. Now if I select this one line execute, now whatever the macros from now onwards we are going to create, now all these macros will be get saved in this library. Say for example, I want to save this export library in Srini, export macro in Srini library. So now, once we created the library, once we have given the global options, now whenever you're developing the macro, after the parameters, after closing the parentheses, now we should keep a /, you should write an option called store. If you run this store option, now if we execute this one, now you know what is going to happen? Now, whatever the export macro that you created, and this is going to be get saved in Srini library, now in SAS and ESR catalog folder, we can see what the macro that we have? Export. And by the way, I want to save this import macro also in a permanent center library. Again, what we should write now, percentage macro, import, after all the parameters, after the same, parentheses, again /, you should write an option called store. If I give the program, again, this macro also will be get saved in SAS and Srini.SAS folder. And by the way, it requires a lot of memory. It is an extra plugin on SAS. That's why we don't recommend this method. Because all the macros will be get compiled and it is going to be stored in a certain location. And again, I want to save this sorting macro also in the same location. Now I should, after the parenthesis and the parenthesis, /, you should use an option called store. Now select this one again, execute this one. Now this macro also will be get saved in the Srini library, in SAS and ESR catalog folder. Now the third macro also. Understand this one, everybody? Is this clear?
Yes, sir.
Now, I'm closing the session now. And I'm reopening the session. By the way, when we have saved our macros,
In series library.
what do you mean by scene library? We have created a scene library for which folder?
My macros.
Right. So scene library is a temporary library that we have created for a folder called.
My macros.
But now I want to use this one now. Whatever the macros I want to use in the current session. So I open this as software. By the way, since we lost the scene library, again I'm going to create a library. Shift, right click, copy as path. Now I go to the program again. I'm creating library one more time. Now I'm writing again lib name, library name, you can any name. I'm writing my library name also. Then I'm going to give the path of the folder. Now if I execute this program, now tell me what is going to happen now? We are going to have, I will do one thing. I will give the scene library. Now it is going to create a library called scene, and the scene library, again what it will show SAS and SCR folder. In that now we have all the three macros. Now I want to use these macros in the current session. If you want to, now these, of course you can see the macro library, and then you can see all the macros available in the library, but now these macros are not ready for usage. If you want to make these macros ready for usage, you know what we should write? One more time, you should write options, yum store, okay, SAS yum store is equal to the library name, which is Srini, and then we should write one more global options, SAS autos is equal to, library. This is how we can recall the macros which are present in a permanent folder. Now if I input this program, now these macros are ready for usage. By the way, I want to use import macro. So for example, I created this macro and I shared it through a folder. Now by taking the folder, you have created a library. Now we want to use. Do you know what parameters that we have in the import?
What's that?
You don't know. If you try to open this import macro, it will not get open. So even I can't remember, I did 2 days back, now I cannot remember what type of parameters I used, what are those parameters, what order, because if it's a position parameters, order is also important. Understand what I'm saying? That's why generally we don't create a compiled macro library like this one. We always prefer to store the code. And code storage is not quality. Whenever I want, I can open the code so that by seeing the code, I can understand what type of parameters, what is the order of the parameters, how many parameters I can understand everything. But because these catalog files will not be get open. Understand what I'm saying? So always better to save the code. I saved the code luckily. Now I'm going to click on the Control plus O. Remember, on my desktop, I saved the macro code which I use it to download the macro. So now we have this one. Now we can see this one. By seeing this one, I can understand the parameters. So now by executing this one, I can create the macros now right now in the work library so that I can use now this one. Which one is better? Always saving the code is far better. Understand? And by the way, when you have a name, if I'm giving the macros to you, you cannot see the code until unless I give the permission. Now see, this time, what I'm going to do, when I'm developing a macro, after the parentheses and forward slash, what is the option I'm giving? Store to store. To store the macro in the permanent library. Now along with that, if I give an option called source, now I'm giving the permission, in future, you can see my code. You can see the macro code. So, whoever develops the macro, if they give the source option, so that you can see the code, otherwise you cannot see the code because this macro catalog codes will not allow you to see the code, like, use a different formats. Now here also, I'm using an option called now source. Now in the third macro also, now what I'm going to do, I'm going to use an option called source. Okay, now after using the source option now, I'm executing all these programs again one more time. So all these macros have been saved in a permanent library, and which is a Srini library. In the Srini library, SME is here. Okay, now I'm closing the session. Now I'm reopening the session again. I want to get this macros back. Now I'm getting the path, shift right click, copy as path. Now I'm creating a library now. I'm writing, lib name, library name Srini, and then I'm giving the path of the folder. Now if I execute the program, now what we are going to have now, we are going to have a library called Srini. Then what are the global options I should write if you want to use in the current session?
Options, installed, SAS, and
SAS yum store is equal to library name Srini, and then again what I should write now, options, SAS autos is equal to the library name. That's autos is equal to, again you should write the library name. Now these macros are available in the current session. Now by the way, I want to see this, what is the code that we have in any of these one. Now if you want to see the code, since I give the permission of writing in a source option, now we can write a percentage copy. Now, which one you want to see? I want to see about the export code. Now I'm writing percentage copy, export, forward slash. Now I'm going to write an option called source. Now if I execute this one line, what is going to happen? Whatever the export code that we have, that is going to get written down in log window. Now we can see whatever the parameters that we have. By the way, what parameters that we have? Position parameters. How many parameters that we have? 3 parameters. What is the order of the parameters now? The first one is file, the second one is the DS, and third one is DB. So if you want to see this code, whoever developed the macro, they should give the permission. How should they can give the permission? After the source, they need to give an option called source. Then only you get a permission, otherwise you cannot open that code, you cannot see the macro code. Understand this one, everybody? So this is how we are going to save the macro in the central library, and then how we are going to recall it. which one is better, saving the code or creating a macros or by writing the percentage include? Most of the time, sir, we write the percentage include and then we save the macro code and we get the code into current session, we execute, so all the macros one more time will get created in the work library and we use it. But sometimes, of course, we use compiled macros also, and this is called compiled macros. Clear, everybody? This is how we are going to save the macros in a function enter. Clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay then. So in tomorrow's class, we'll see the debugging options, and day after tomorrow we'll see the macro functions. And in 3 classes, we are going to finish the macros. But later, I want to show how we write the code in the real time. Okay, we'll do that one. This time we deal with the comprehensive macros, so we'll discuss for more time. Okay. Okay then. See you in tomorrow's class. Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.